In this session, we want to look at configuring authenticated firewall exemptions, and also we want to look at how we would import and export firewall policies. We're going to go into group policy to look at the setting for authenticated firewall exemptions. To configure the extensions, we want to click on Tools, Group Policy Management. We're going to expand Contoso, and we already have a GPO called Exemption Firewall Rule for Contoso. So we're going to right click on that GPO and we're going to click on Edit. Computer Configuration, Policies, Windows Settings, Security Settings, and we want to click on Windows Firewall with Advanced Security. On the left-hand pane, we want to expand Windows Firewall with Advanced Security. Then we want to expand Windows Firewall with Advanced Security. We want to double-click on Connection Security Rules. Then we want to right-click and say New Rule. The rule that we want is authentication exemption. Do not authenticate connections from the specified computers. So we're going to select this setting and then we're going to click on Next. What we want to do now is to add the computers that are exempt from authentication requirements. So we're going to click on Add, and we want to type a range. Our range is going to be from 192.168.10.5 to 192.168.10.20. So any computers within that range will not receive authentication because we want to exempt them from authentication. So let's type the range 192.168.10.5 and hit enter. And then we want to type the 2. So we're going to click in that box and we're going to type 192.168.10.20 and press enter. So now we have a range of IP addresses from 192.168.10.5 to 192.168.10.20, and we want to click on OK. We're going to click Next to continue. And when does this rule apply? If the rule applies to the domain only, then you can deselect private and public. If you want this rule to apply to all of these profiles, then you just leave them ticked. And for this example, we're going to leave all 3 profiles ticked, and we're going to click Next. We now need to type the name of that rule, and we're going to call it Contoso Exemption. C-O-N-T-O-S-O exemption. And we're going to hit enter. So we see the name of the rule, and you can write your description. It's optional, but it's best practice to write the description. For our purposes, we are just going to click Finish. We want to turn our attention to exporting and importing firewall policies. We're going to right-click on the firewall policy, and we're going to click on Export. We want to give this policy a name, And the name of the policy that we want to give is called firewall policy. So we're going to type firewall policy and press enter. And we can save this policy, and we're saving it in documents, so we will know where it is when we are ready to import it. So we click on save, and it says the policy successfully exported. So we want to click on OK. Now, by the same token, if we wanted to import a policy, we could right-click on the Windows Firewall policy, click on Import, and when we import a policy, we will overwrite the current Windows Firewall policy. So you should have exported that policy first if you wanted to save it. It says, do you want to import the policy now? And we're going to go ahead and say yes. And we're going to import another policy, Contoso Firewall policy, and the policy extensions are .wfw, please note. So we're going to click on the first policy that we have here. Let's try that again. And we're going to click on Open. And it says, policy successfully imported. So we're going to go ahead and say OK. So we can import and export policies. So remember, when you create a policy, you can save that policy by exporting it. And then you can use that policy on another set of computers by simply importing that policy. We're going to go ahead and close Group Policy Management Editor. And we're going to close Group Policy Management. And we close again until we are completely out to Server Manager. That is the end of this session. We looked at two things. We looked at configuring the exemption of authorization or a range of computers. And we also looked at how we would export and import the Windows Firewall policy. This is the end of our session, and I would like to thank you for listening.